Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel Just Enjoy. In this video we are going to talk about top 15 open world games which can easily run on a 2GB RAM, Core 2 Duo, and no graphics card. Actually, open world games are those in which you can explore the world and so whatever you want to. The popularity of open world games started from 2001 with the release of Grand Theft Auto 3. The most popular open-world games today are Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Watch Dogs 2, Assassin's Creed Legacy, Forza Horizon 4, Red Dead Redemption 2, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, and the honorable mention and one and only, Grand Theft Auto 5. But all these have high system requirements and can only run on a high-end PC. So, I have made a video for low-end PC open-world games which can compete GTA 5. All the games are tested on Windows 10, 32-bit, 3GB DDR3 RAM Core 2 Duo, 128MB video RAM. At 15th of the list it's a Saboteur. It is a 2009 open-world action-adventure video game set during World War II in German-occupied France. It was published by Electronic Arts and was the final game developed by Pandemic Studios. The game is set in 1940, and as protagonist, Sean Evelyn, based on William Grover Williams, the player can explore Nazi-occupied Paris, some of the French countryside and parts of Germany. Color is a key element in the gameplay. Areas which are heavily controlled by the Nazis are represented in black and white, with the exception of the characters' arses, city lights, blood and blue symbols of the French resistance in these areas. German soldiers are present in large numbers, making it far more likely that Sean will be detected in his rebellious activities. The player also has the ability to scale buildings and run across rooftops, where sometimes British supply boxes can be found, or to reach a good sniper's view of the ground beneath. The game can easily run on almost any PC. On 14th of the list, it's Mad Out 2, which is an open-world game which is also available online. You can say it is a complete copy of GTA Online. The environment in this game is also bright like GTA 5. But the map size is small as 10 kilometers, which is very small if compared to other games. But it's the best choice if you want an online open-world game. The game is also available on Android. The size of the game is around 300 MB only, which is the best thing. The vehicles and weapons are also similar to GTA Online. I recommend this game for those who enjoy online more than offline, but the graphics of the game is not that realistic. Graphics are cartoonistic like On 13th it's the Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion, which is an open-world action role-playing video game developed by Bethesda Game Studios and published by Bethesda Softworks and the Take-Two Interactive Division 2K Games. It is the fourth installment in the Elder Scrolls action fantasy series, following the Elder Scrolls III, Morrowind, and preceding the Elder Scrolls V. Skyrim. The game continues the open-world tradition of its predecessors by allowing the player to travel anywhere in the game world at any time and to ignore or postpone the main storyline indefinitely upon release. Oblivion was well received by critics and has won a number of industry and publication awards. It was praised for its impressive graphics, expansive game world, and schedule-driven NPCs, and is now considered one of the greatest games ever made. On 13th it's The Elder Scrolls 4. At 12th it's Saints Row, the third, which is also a 2011 action-adventure game developed by Volition and published by THQ. It is the third title in the Saints Row series. As in the previous games, the player character's appearance is determined by the player, and is the leader of the Third Street Saints gang, who have become a media and consumer empire with their own brand. The game changes the setting to the fictional U.S. city of Steelport, where the Saints engage in a turf war with an international criminal enterprise called the Syndicate, bent on destroying the Saints' reputation, played from the third-person perspective in an open world, such that players explore an unrestricted environment. Similar to the premise of the previous Saints Row games, the player's goal is to leave the Third Street Saints gang to overtake its rival gangs in the city turf war. While the protagonist is the same, the game introduces a new setting, the city of Steelport, with its new gangs, the Morningstar, Shadows, and Deckers, together known as the Syndicate. To further complicate matters, the government's Special Tactical Anti-Gang Unit is summoned to quell both organizations. The third is the first in the series to intertwine the narrative. At 11th it's The Godfather II is an open-world action-adventure video game developed by Redwood Shores and published by Electronic Arts. The game is based on the 1974 film The Godfather Part II, and is a sequel to the 2006 game The Godfather, which was based on the 1972 film of the same name. As with the 2006 game, The Godfather II tells the story of an original character, Dominic, who is placed in charge of the Corleone family operations in New York City when the protagonist of the original game, Aldo Trapani, is killed in Cuba. As with the first game, Dominic's original story intersects with the narrative of the film on multiple occasions. However, the game changes the film's plot more so than the first game did. None of the material concerning the rise of Vito Corleone is present in the game, and the events of the film are presented in a different order into the subgenre of Grand Theft Auto clones, as the player can travel throughout the game world freely, commandeer vehicles, do whatever they want in terms of attacking and/or killing innocent civilians, and progress through the storyline at their own leisure, spending as much time At 10th it's Sleeping Dogs, which is an action-adventure video game developed by United Front Games and published by Square Enix. It was originally released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Set in contemporary Hong Kong, the story follows Wei Shen, an undercover Chinese-American police officer on assignment to infiltrate the Sun On Yee Triad organization. Gameplay focuses on Shen's fighting, shooting and parkour abilities, and on gadgets that can be used for combat and exploration. Players must complete missions to unlock content and continue the story, but they may instead freely roam the game's open-world environment and engage in both legal and criminal activities. The latter may incite a police response, the intensity of which is controlled by a heat system. Actions such as fighting, driving and racing grant Shen statistical rewards and earn the player achievements. You might have found this game at top of you have searched for low PC open world games. The graphics are good, but at some places it looks unrealistic. At ninth, its Mirror's Edge is an action-adventure platform game developed by DICE and published by Electronic Arts. It was released for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 in 2008, and for Microsoft Windows in 2009. Set in a quasi-futuristic city, the game follows the story of Faith Connors, an underground parker courier who transmits messages while evading government surveillance. To progress through the game, the player must control Faith from a first-person perspective and complete a series of levels that involve performing a sequence of acrobatic maneuvers, including jumping between rooftops, running across walls, and sliding down zip lines inspired by chase scenes featured in Casino Royale and the Bourne films. Mirror's Edge features hundreds of first-person animations to convey Faith's movement and interactions with the environment. Although the game is powered by Unreal Engine 3, a new lighting solution, which is able to reflect colors and create a lot of soft shadows, was created to give the game a unique art style. The game deliberately makes use of strong primary colors, with outdoor environments predominantly featuring white and distinctively lacking in green. At its Just Cause 2, which is a 2010 action-adventure game developed by Avalanche Studios, published by DICE Interactive and distributed by Square Enix for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. The sequel to 2006's Just Cause, it was powered by Avalanche Studios' Avalanche 2.0 engine. It features Rico Rodriguez, a major operative of the fictional agency who arrives at Pena, a fictional dystopian island nation in maritime Southeast Asia, to overthrow dictator Pendak Baby Pana and confront former mentor Tom Sheldon. The gameplay involves Rico fighting hostile militants with guns and a grappling hook, enabling players to tag their objects to each other and slingshot into the air with a parachute. Just Cause 2 introduces the Chaos system, in which players must complete missions and destroy government property on Pena for Chaos points. These points are essential for story progression. Just Cause 2 is a 2010 action-adventure game developed by Avalanche Studios, published by DICE Interactive and distributed by Square Enix for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 3. At 7th, its Tomb Raider is an action-adventure video game developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Square Enix. It is the 10th title in the Tomb Raider franchise, and operates as a reboot that reconstructs the origins of Lara Croft. Lara, who is untested and not yet the battle-hardened explorer she is in other titles in the series, must save her friends and escape while being hunted down by a malevolent cult. She is considered the best female protagonist. Gameplay elements focus more on survival, although exploration is used within the game when exploring the island and various optional tombs. Tomb Raider is presented in third-person perspective. Players take control of the series-led character Lara Croft. The game uses an interconnected hub-and-spoke model that combines action-adventure, exploration, and survival mechanics. 8 players can traverse between the camps and across the island using footpaths, improvised or already available ziplines and climbable tracks. Many of the players' moves are carried over from the previous games created by Crystal Dynamics, with some tweaks added, such as incorporating elements of stealth gameplay. Released in the same year as GTA 5. At 6th in the list, Grand Theft Auto IV is a 2008 action-adventure game developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar Games. Set within the fictional Liberty City, based on New York City, the single-player story follows Eastern European war veteran Nico Blick and his attempts to escape his past while under pressure from loan sharks and mob bosses. The open-world design lets players freely roam Liberty City, consisting of 3 main islands, and like previous entries, Grand Theft Auto IV lacked a strong cinematic influence. As the team attempted an original approach to the story, the game is played from a third-person perspective and its world is navigated on foot or by vehicle. Throughout the single-player mode, players play as Nico Blick. Outside of missions, players can freely roam the game's open world and complete optional side missions. But the worst thing is that you have to play at very low graphics by using a command line on a low-end PC. Although many Talking about fifth, The Witcher 2. Assassins of Kings is a 2011 action role-playing video game developed by CD Projekt Red, based on the Witcher series of fantasy novels by Andrzej Sapkowski. It is the sequel to the 2007 game The Witcher and the second main installment in The Witcher's video game series. The player directs the actions of Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter known as a Witcher warlock. The fantasy world in which his adventures take place has much to Polish history and Slavic mythology. Combat, for instance, is much more complex, with additions in the form of abilities to lay traps and aim and throw ranged weapons. The protagonist, Geralt, has an improved offensive and defensive arsenal, with a wide range of melee and ranged weapons, armor, bombs, traps, and secondary weapons such as hatchets and shovels. The player controls Geralt of Rivia, who is one of the few remaining Witchers, enhanced and trained humans with special powers who hunt monsters for a living. The Witcher 2. Assassins of Kings contains many different paths and storylines, along with multiple endings. For more lower-end PC users, they can play its predecessor. The game deserving fourth place is Far Cry 2. Far Cry 2 is a 2008 first-person shooter developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. It is the second installment of the main Far Cry series. It features completely new characters and setting, as well as a new style of gameplay that allows the player greater freedom to explore different African landscapes such as deserts, jungles, and savannas. The game takes place in a modern-day Central African nation during civil war. The player takes control of a mercenary on a lengthy journey to locate and assassinate the Jackal, a notorious arms dealer. The game features an open-ended experience. Players are able to ally with one or multiple factions, and to progress through the game world and missions as they see fit, resulting in a non-linear style of gameplay commonly referred to as sandbox mode that allows the story to progress at their speed and in the order they choose. The third place deserving game Mafia II is a 2010 action-adventure game developed by 2K Czech and published by 2K Games. Set within the fictional Empire Bay, based on New York City, as well as aspects of Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Boston and Detroit. During the 1940s and 1950s, the story follows Sicily, an American mobster and war veteran Vito Scaletta, who becomes involved in a power struggle among the city's mafia crime families while attempting to pay back his father's debts and secure a better lifestyle. The game is played from a third-person perspective and its world is navigated on foot or by vehicle. The player character's criminal activities may incite a response from law enforcement agencies, measured by a wanted system that governs the aggression of their response to game, is set in the 1940s early 1950s era of Empire Bay, a fictional city. The game's cutscenes are created by the game engine in real time. For example, if the player is riding in a car and a cutscene starts, the player will be driving the same car with the same condition, damaged or intact, and will be wearing the same clothes. Other exceptions, however, such the annable game on second is Red Dead Redemption, is a 2010 action-adventure game developed by Rockstar San Diego and published by Rockstar Games. A spiritual successor to 2004's Red Dead Revolver, it is the second game in the Red Dead series. Red Dead Redemption is set during the decline of the American frontier in the year 1911 and follows John Marston, a former outlaw whose wife and son are taken hostage by the government in ransom for his services as a hired gun. Having no other choice, Marston sets out to bring 3 members of his former gang to justice. Although the game cannot run directly on PC but can easily run on your PC. You can search for that on YouTube. If having a more older PC, you can try Red Dead Revolver. The game is played from a third-person perspective. The player may freely roam in its interactive open world, a fictionalized version of the western United States and Mexico, primarily by horseback and on foot. Gunfights emphasize a gunslinger gameplay mechanic called Dead Eye that allows players to mark multiple shooting targets on enemies in slow motion. The game makes use of a morality system, by which the player's actions in the game affect their characters' levels of. At first, it's no other game than Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto. San Andreas, considered the best games in the series besides GTA 5, is a 2004 action-adventure game developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar Games. It is the 7th title in the Grand Theft Auto series, and the follow-up to the 2002 game Grand Theft Auto: Vice City. It was released in October 2004. The game, set within an open-world environment that players can explore and interact with at their leisure, focuses on the story of former gangster Carl C.J. Johnson, who is brought back home by the death of his mother, only to become involved in a long journey that sees him exploring the fictional U.S. state of San Andreas, which is heavily based on California, and Nevada. The game features references to many real-life elements of the world, such as its cities, regions, and landmarks, with its plot heavily based on several real-life events in Los Angeles in the early 1990s, including the rivalry between real-life street gangs, the 1980s early 1990s crack epidemic, the Lab Rampart scandal, and the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Unlike its predecessor, San Andreas brought with it new elements of gameplay that would be later incorporated in future titles, including. So this was the end of the video. Hope you liked it. For more such videos, subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon.